Now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I take a look around at other people and I start to feel like a bit of a bum, like I'm falling behind. And I'm sure you guys know what I mean. Grocery prices are through the roof. We always hear that we're on the brink of a recession, but when I take a look at the people around me, it feels like no one got the memo. Your next door neighbor just bought a brand new car, a really nice one too. And your old high school chum did a thing and bought a house. And week after week, we're inundated with countless vacation photos from family, friends, colleagues, and acquaintances alike on social media. And with all this, I think it's easy to come up with the feeling that everyone's doing better than you. But honestly, guys, I'm not so sure. A lot of times, this is a sham. It's a lie. And if you really knew what was going on behind the scenes in the lives of these people, you wouldn't be so envious. Today, I'm talking about why it seems like everyone has more money than you. Let's get into it. But first, if you don't know me, I'm Spencer, and I like to talk about simple living, frugality, and digital minimalism. This video is part of a series where I tackle some of the trending topics in the YouTube personal finance and frugality space with my own spin, of course. Let's call it Spencer's version. First of all, I want to start off with a quick disclaimer that I feel like doesn't even really need to be said, but I'm saying it anyway. Once in a while, somebody else will have more money than you. You know, when the film industry's been on and off of strikes for the past 2 years, I shouldn't be surprised why I'm driving a 15-year-old car while my Google computer programmer friend has a brand new one. Likely when my idea of a vacation has to be when my job takes me on the road, I'm not going to be surprised or hurt when I see a doctor on a big international trip. The reality is that there's always going to be somebody who's financially doing better than you or worse than you, no matter what your situation is. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, these guys are actually rich. They're not faking it. The only thing Elon might be faking is his hair, but we're not going to get into that today. But for a lot of people who you may see who look rich, they may just seem that way. They may just appear that way, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So let's get started with the number one reason why it seems like somebody might have more money than you, and that is rich parents. I wanted to get right off to the races with perhaps the most controversial one. When I've seen other people talk about this topic, they never seem to really go here, but rich parents bankrolling their kids so that they can live a life of luxury. You know, I live in Toronto, and when I first moved to this city, I was for sure of the opinion that every person I ran into had more money than I did. It didn't matter if it was people a few years younger than me or in my age group. Everyone seemed to have their own apartment. They were able to go out to nice wine bars, go out for dinner, just spend money willy-nilly on nice luxury brand clothing, whatever they wanted. But as I got to know these people better and just got a little bit more city savvy, I guess, I realized that so many of these people were being bankrolled by their parents. And by bankrolled, I mean that maybe their living expenses are completely being paid for by their parents. Rent is being covered, maybe even some grocery money is being kicked their way each month. And these people weren't really loafers either. They all had jobs, but the way that I began to see it was that these jobs for them were kind of more like a kid with a lemonade stand. These lemonade stand jobs were just kind of a means for these people to get spending money because they knew that their parents were going to be covering all of their major expenses for them. And because they basically had two incomes funding their one life, they were able to live a very lavish and luxurious lifestyle, and I wasn't. Eventually, once I figured this out, I did start to give myself a little bit of a break, but when I first got to the city and I was having hard financial times when I got here, I did not feel good about myself. I had a very low self-opinion because I looked around at all of these people who were in my age group or even younger who were doing so much better, and I just thought, there's something wrong with me. And if you feel that way, please do not. There is nothing wrong with you. We all come from different situations, and some of us just don't get the luck of the draw to get bankrolled by a rich family for the rest of our lives. And lastly, with this point, I'll just say, sometimes it's better that you weren't financed by your parents, because I know that I myself have learned a lot of valuable financial management skills only because I really had to. When I first got to the city, I was not very disciplined. I kind of just moved out of my parents' house and came here. I took a leap into life in Toronto in the film industry. I had no clue what I was doing, and I did not have very much money, and I had to learn very fast. So even though you might not have money coming in from family, you're definitely gaining valuable life skills regardless. So do not be hard on yourself in that, and realize that a lot of people look like they have more money than you because it's someone else's money. And continuing on with that idea of spending someone else's money to look rich, we're going to move on to number 2, which is these people might be living above their means, sometimes by a lot. If you want a life that looks outwardly luxurious and you don't have the luxury of the family money coming in, you can look to credit cards to bankroll yourself in this case. And I think that's what a lot of people do, and they get themselves in a lot of trouble with that debt. With things like credit cards, other types of loans, and even consumer financing programs, there's a lot of ways to get money in goods that you did not earn. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have the financial management skills to know that that's not the way to go. And people will use their credit cards for almost anything, and they don't look at it as a sort of rewards card of sorts as long as you keep paying it off. They look at it as almost an extension to their income, and then they max it out. And financing is another thing. Not only are people financing very large purchases like homes and cars, but they'll also finance things like furniture or even just their Amazon order. Because so few people are actually financially literate and really have any sort of money management skills, people will get something like a credit card, they'll see that they have this massive limit, and then they'll just go on a spending spree. This is where you'll see people whose debt is in collections. Meanwhile, they're decked out in Gucci and Prada. So next time you see somebody who's strutting their stuff, decked out in the highest fashions, looking like they just walked off the runway, you probably haven't seen one of the Kardashians, and you've in fact found somebody who is in a tremendous amount of debt. So moving on with that to the third reason why it seems like everybody has more money than you, and that is because of the phenomenon known as lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep really happens without you realizing it. It's when your spending increases alongside your income, so your saving doesn't increase at all. An example of this is you get a nice 10% raise at work, and then you start to look around and think, well, now that I'm Mr. Big Shot, I should upgrade my phone, or I need a new car to go along with this new job title. This is hard too because consumerism drives us to buy, buy, buy. We're constantly inundated with ads at all points in our day. We see more ads than we ever have before. And as the amount of ads increase, so do our desires. So I can't blame people for going and blowing all their money as soon as they get it. But folks, you have to keep this in mind. You can tell how much a person's spending based on the size of their house or their car or the clothes they wear, but you have no clue how much money that person's saving. And now moving on to the fourth reason why it seems like everyone has more money than you, and that is social media. Now, I like to call social media the FOMO factory because they manufacture that fear of missing out. We all know social media is a highlight reel and it's just people's best moments. I know that, but every time I go on there, I can't help but feel a little bit of lack in my heart too. I'm not even going to touch influencers who always seem to be dressed in the highest fashion and traveling all over the world to the trendy spots. But social media has that effect where it makes everyone feel like they're a celebrity, like every little piece of their life matters, and they're able to pick and choose the best parts of their life and broadcast that to the world. But when you go on social media and you see the person who just got the big promotion or the friend who went on the big trip or bought a house, remember that you're seeing curated glimpses of these people's lives. Remember you have no idea what is going on behind the scenes, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the debts that may be propping up this life that looks so perfect. Believe me, I think we all know a few people whose lives look really great on the internet, but are a complete mess behind the scenes. Finally, the fifth reason why it seems like everyone has more money than you, and that is that they just might have different goals. And honestly, they might not have goals at all, but the point is that you have goals. Back a few years ago, I was in what to me felt like a lot of consumer debt. When I had that turning point and decided to start paying that off, I had a goal and I had a mission. I was not only going to pay that debt off, but I had lit a fire under myself and I wanted to be financially independent. At that point, I really felt like everyone had more money than me. I went into extreme frugal mode. We're talking every single night eating cans of beans, ramen, and craft dinner. Anything that I could do to get my cost of living down. I was selling stuff like it was gonna be reclaimed. I was treating the debt like an emergency because to me, I saw it as one. If you want to hear more about that story and how I got out of the debt, I did a whole video on it and I linked it above. But if you were in the same mindset as me, if you currently are, you might have very different financial priorities from somebody who's just living their best life. What I mean is the average person might not have a financial goal at all. Their only financial goal might be YOLO. Perhaps in your current life, you have to be very frugal. You have to live lean and go without in certain areas so that you can meet your goals and live the life that you want to live in the future. You know, Dave Ramsey says if you want to live like no one else, then first you have to live like no one else. You might feel like everyone has more money than you because you're living by a different goal where they might not be living by one at all. So keep this in mind and go easy on yourself, especially if you're watching videos like this one. You're clearly trying to do some self-improvement. If you're watching videos like this, why it seems like everyone has more money than you, then you probably already look at your finances under a microscope. So celebrate your wins and keep doing you. That's just about all I have to say for today, guys. Why it may seem like everyone has more money than you, but in reality, they probably don't. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it interesting. If you have any more thoughts on this topic, please share them down in the comment section. I would love to chat with you there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I just wanted to let you guys know that I now have a Spencer's Adventures Patreon, which you can join if you're interested in supporting the channel. There's a couple different tiers you can choose from with an array of benefits, including ad-free videos, your name in the credits of these videos, early access to upcoming videos, special updates and content, as well as monthly Patreon exclusive videos. I've made over 100 videos on here and I have no intent of stopping. The Patreon is a good way if you want to connect with me and support the work I do. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.